trip organized by the nonprofit Best Defense Foundations. These veterans were greeted by many top officials in France ahead of the 80th anniversary of the D-Day invasion. They will take part in parades, school visits, and ceremonies, including the official June 6th commemoration of the landings by soldiers from across the U.S., Britain, Canada, and other allied nations. So veterans spoke about their experience nearly 80 years ago.
You wouldn't believe what I've seen. It's terrible. Some of the young fellas never even made the beach. It was so bad that we had to run over to get on the beach. That's how bad it was.
You still remember it strongly?
Do I? You better believe it, like it happened yesterday.
We told you last week, two members of the Greatest Generation making their trip to Normandy from Kansas. 102-year-old Army veteran and Purple Heart recipient Olin Mitchell of Hutchinson and Connie Palacios of Newton, who worked on B-29 dock as a teenager.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Remembering D-Day 80 years ago. Welcome to the Wayne Dupree program on a Thursday. I'm Hutch Bailey Jr., co-host, standing in for Wayne Dupree this week. Hopefully he will be back next week. Had a rough week, so I know he's probably going to rest up this weekend, but send it over to Minnesota. What's going on, Jason?
Hey, happy Thursday, everybody. You know, thanks for putting up with Hutch and I this week. And Hutch, great job to you. It's nice working with a real pro who knows how to do all this stuff. So
maybe next week.
It's been pretty awesome. And prayers go out to the Wayne Dupree family. If you haven't done so and you're a loyal watcher of the show, drop him a note on social media. He's reading all of them and he really appreciates it. So
he's posting a lot of stuff too. So is RVM News. Thank you guys for all that. Appreciate that. My timeline's blowing up a little bit last couple days. But, you know, it's been a couple weeks since this kangaroo court in Manhattan dropped this phony verdict down, and there's starting to be consequences. I mean, I saw that a few days ago. I mean, I don't think it'll stand. But some countries came out and said that President Trump can't go to England or can't go here, can't go there. And now the NYPD is revoking his concealed carry permit. I mean, that's the law. I would rather see the Supreme Court intervene and stop this madness before any more goes on. I mean, this is emboldening these Nazis.
You know, we've broke down this case backwards and forwards, and this case was a sham from the start. And it just makes us look like a bunch of clowns on the international stage. I mean, people that know President Trump, and they don't know the intricacies of financial election laws, but by a lot of these countries' laws, if you're a convicted felon, I mean, there's companies you can't work for, there's travel restrictions, there's firearm restrictions. I mean, there's a ton of unintended consequences, not to mention the 300 million Trump's fundraised off it. And their whole narrative this election, until they switch out Joe, is down to two things. It is Trump's a dictator, and it is abortion. That's it. And abortion, largely, it's just a state issue. And Republicans have done a good job kind of toeing the line to say, just leave it a state issue. So all they got to run on is Trump's a dictator. But it's hard to say that when you're jailing President Trump.
And, you know, he said today, it might have been yesterday, I read it today. He knows the deal, man. He said this abortion has hurt the GOP. They don't know how to talk about it.
Right.
And he's right about that. And I think half the time when they do it, I think they're working for the enemy.
Right.
Like Lindsey Graham, when he came, that guy is polluted. When he came out and said he wanted a national abortion ban after the Roe v. Wade got overturned, I mean, come on, Lindsey. I mean, first of all, what do you have to worry about abortion?
Right.
You know, you have.
I don't think gay guys get abortions.
Right.
But now anybody can have a baby. So, you know, maybe Lindsey Graham can. And it's funny, Republicans, I mean, nationally, this is a losing issue. You have a hyper polarized, you know, group on the other side that just is uneducated. If you're ever going to get abortion legislation through, it's going to be somewhere 12 to 18 weeks with the exceptions for rape, incest, you know, health of the mother. I mean, realistically, that's the only policy position that could ever get through.
I don't think it's a policy issue. I think it's a cultural issue. I think what we need to do, we've had generations of children being highly educated in propaganda about abortion, and like it's a normal thing. I mean, anybody with critical thinking skills that could call killing a baby healthcare is sick.
Right.
I mean, that's something we have to get to the point where we love ourselves more. I mean, this is the root of a lot of our problems in America, in the inner cities, the violence that you see when you have life being so cheap. This is what happens.
Well, and actually, in my opinion, it's actually the abortion question is downhill one step from the real problem. The real problem is you need to teach young people that sex is something sacred with somebody you plan on spending the rest of your life with. It's not some throwaway thing that you just go, do willy-nilly. And you see all these people having all these low morals. I mean, it lowers their self-esteem and all that. But the babies produced are an outcome of just lowering, like convincing women like, oh, it's great if you sleep with a bunch of guys. I mean, a lot of guys are all over that, but that's not good for society.
Not at all.
Right. And then if you cheapen yourself personally, once you create a life, it's eye-opening. And what really blows me away is anybody that's had a child that is still pro-abortion. Because for me, I was a little milquetoast on the pro-life thing. I'm like, I don't think that's good. But once I saw that first ultrasound of my son at like 6 weeks or 8 weeks, however many weeks it was, I'm like, holy cow, that's a person. Like, and I will do anything I can to take care of that person the rest of my life. And I don't know how anybody that's had that feeling can say, oh yeah, abortion's great.
That's another thing legally that we have to fix. Throwing people in jail for exercising their First Amendment right. We obviously have a problem in the court system that we need to purge. And I would suggest that, Congress runs the courts between the president and the Congress.
Yeah.
You could cut the strength in half. And that's what they should do. Is they should cut it in half, and then they should vet the rest that's left.
Yep.
I mean, we got to get away from this ridiculous law that we have in this country, man. I mean, the laws, the selective enforcement of different things and the complete abject disregard of the Constitution. That's where we are right now. Disregard completely. And the lying, I'll tell you, the presidential ads have started in my house. And Joe Biden, man, the lies he tells on them. I mean, if you're a Democrat, they think you're stupid.
Right.
They literally think you're stupid. The ads are unbelievable. I'm sitting there with my mostly apolitical wife watching a little bit of TV for 20 minutes every night, eating dinner. And even she's shaking her head.
Right.
It's like Trump's a dictator. He's going to be in there for life. He's never going to leave. He's a racist. He's this, he's that. And it's like, no, you guys don't remember. We lived through those 4 years.
Well, it's funny because all the things they say he's going to do, I mean, if anything, his first term, he was way too soft for all of our liking. And even if he comes out substantially harder and cleans things up and does better hiring, there's no way he could ever dream of getting to the level that they're framing. And folks like your wife that are kind of the not politically connected, all they're going to see is Trump's a dictator, and then their brain's going to go, well, wait, Trump's the one they're trying to throw in jail for some Stormy Daniels payment. And like the two dots don't connect. Now, some people just think Trump's a horrible criminal and they don't care what they got him for as long as they got him. But
I was thinking last night about, with the phenomenon of blacks going to Trump, especially black men, but I've seen a lot of black women too. But I was thinking, all the people that have been locked up related to crack. I mean, it's hundreds of thousands.
Right.
Maybe even more than that. I wonder how they feel about this Hunter Biden thing. I don't know if you saw that video. It was a split video.
Yep.
And on the one side, it's showing Joe Biden in 1994, before 94, pushing the crime bill. And in the other corner, it's Hunter Biden smoking crack through the whole thing. It's like, I wonder what that makes somebody feel that's like doing time or knows somebody that's doing time or whatever.
Well, I got to say, we try to stay away from race on the show, but if you break it down, inner city black communities, I mean, go back to when I was young and it was all the rappers, all the culture shifted to emboldening criminals. They were
by design, by the way.
What's that?
By design, by the way.
By design, right. But I mean, culturally, a lot of the African-American black inner city communities, like that became their thing. And then they see these guys go legit and that sort of thing. But you'll be hard pressed to have anybody in an inner city community, black, white, Latino, whatever, who hasn't been affected by some of this unfair enforcement of the laws. Because you see rich dudes get busted for cocaine, they pay a fine, and then you see some poor person get busted for crack and they're in jail for 10 years. And that's why, there's a ton of video, social media of a lot of black Americans like Trump. I mean, 50 Cent came out. He was at the White House with Lauren Boebert, and he's been saying stuff like, "Oh, RICO charges against Trump. He's one of us. I'm voting for him."
I saw something that when I made that comment about by design, I saw Ice Cube. I don't know his real name, but I saw he's a smart guy.
Oh yeah.
And I'm listening to him talk, and he said that in the rap industry, all the people that run the rap industry, for one thing, they're white.
Yep.
And for another thing, they all run private prisons. So if you think about that fact of the things that you hear in these, especially the gangster rap stuff, that is injected in there by people who want tenants in their private prisons.
Right.
Think about that, man. That stunned me. I'm thinking, what a bunch of evil people that would turn a whole country on its ear just to get a couple bucks. I mean, we should eliminate private prisons. That's something that, whenever you have prison industries, right? The federal government has prison industry. It's called Unicor.
Yep.
And I don't know who's making money from it, but somebody is. It gives them an incentive to keep the cages full.
Yep.
And that's even worse with the private prison system.
Well, we've learned over time, anytime you create a financial incentive for people, you create a situation where people are going to encourage that behavior, and you saw it with the COVID vax. How did they get doctors on board? They gave them a bunch of money. Everything you see is all down. Like, how do you get big business to support SNAP? We'll cover more products. They don't care where the money comes from, and it just goes right into those big corporations. But for the drug industry, I mean, it's crazy. The intelligence community was all over it. There was tons of money getting funneled backdoor to politicians. What's really wild too is in my younger days, I did some outreach in jails where I went to teach them business skills for when they transitioned out and into the real world. And it was fascinating because these are super smart guys. They were figuring out logistics and hiring and all these things. They were just doing it on the down low. And you talk to a lot of them. They're like, when I get out, I want to apply those things I learned to, a legitimate business. There was just no opportunity for them. So
right. I'll tell you, this kind of stunned me, the length of this list. But on May 30th, all the scheming, plotting, and conspiring between the Biden, I'll call it the Obama White House, and the judicial system came together to create the talking point that Donald Trump's a convicted felon. After a group of political lynchers who called themselves a jury made that talking point official, the propaganda arm of the Democrat Party, we call the corporate media, run by the CAA, a big pharma, and the CIA, listen to all the things that they've been responsible for to take down President Trump and to take down you and I.
Yep.
The Russia collusion hoax, hands up, don't shoot hoax, Jussie Smollett hoax, Covington KKK kids hoax, very fine people hoax, 7-hour Gap hoax, Russian bounties hoax, Trump trashes troops hoax, over 50 imminent environmental catastrophe hoaxes, policemen killed at mostly peaceful January 6th protest, Rittenhouse hoax, eating while black hoax, border agents whipping illegals hoax. That's only half of them. I'm tired of reading.
Right. Well, and we were talking about it on yesterday's show, the propaganda that the media spews and normal people that have lives and just passively tune in, they think this stuff is real. And I mean, think of Joe Biden's campaign announcement. He cited the Charlottesville hoax, which has been debunked on our shows and hundreds of others, but that was his rallying cry. That should have been the end of his campaign. There should have been somebody in the media other than alternative media like Wayne Dupree Podcast and redvoicenews.com that was out there. Like CNN should have said, Joe, this is a lie. You're improperly framing this. If you want to run for president, don't lie to us from the start. I mean, that's what got him That's what killed his campaign twice, is he lied. But that shows you how far the media's gone, because this time they ran with the lie.
So
And
go ahead.
we were talking about the laptop. That Leslie Stahl clip is recirculating now,
Saw that.
where Donald Trump was saying, like, oh yeah, the laptop, and everybody suppressed it. She's like, you know, that's Russian disinformation. And it's like,
She should be held just as much of account as the people that signed that letter.
right.
I'm telling
Yeah.
you, man, it's time for that. It's time. We got to stop this.
Well, and you know, all of the media, all the intelligence community knew the laptop was real. So, you know, the 3-letter agencies, the Department of Justice knew it was real. Even the IRS knew it was real when this was coming. All these people communicate with the media. I mean, I think it was improper for them not to come out and clarify the record and at least say, like, yeah, hey, the laptop's real. But instead, they doubled down on it with the media. They got those 51 intelligence agents who all still have their security clearance, which lets them get a ton of money on the back end. And, you know, now the real story is coming out, and it's so long ago, nobody really cares. And to me, that should be front page news. It should be every one of the people that participated in this should go to jail. That is the definition of election.
They're getting scared. They are getting scared. Let me see. I know I have a.
Do you got that clip?
I do. I just got to see what. Okay, here it is. Watch this. This is Andrew McCabe.
It's great to have you here, because I just few people know the inner workings of the FBI better than you do. And you've also personally experienced the pressure from Donald Trump. And when you see him promising this wholesale takeover of the Justice Department, I wonder how you worry about what that would look like.
Yeah, Caitlin, I mean, I worry a lot about it. And I think it's, you know, when you think about these things and you try to predict how Donald Trump is going to react or the steps he's going to take, you really don't have to go any further than listening to the things he says and does. I mean, his comments recently are offensive and horrendous, but they're not surprising in any way. He's been saying this for quite some time. I will be your retribution is his refrain to his supporters. So, you know him, you know what motivates him. He is not a person who's driven by principle or ideology. He is someone who's entirely transactional. And if he feels like he's been wronged in some way, then he focuses on revenge and vengeance. And so he's made it perfectly clear that that's what he's going to do. And in the process of seeking that, he is going to he runs the risk of really dismantling and greatly incapacitating the Department of Justice and the FBI. And that is something that Americans on both sides of the political aisle should be worried about.
Yeah.
We depend on those institutions to protect us.
Well, what do you think
and he is proposing to tear them down.
What do people inside the FBI think when they hear a comment like that?
It's terrifying. It's frightening. I have a lot of conversations with former colleagues, people who are or were in the intelligence and law enforcement community and may have worked in, the Obama administration, other places. And, people are really trying to assess, like, what is life going to be like if Donald Trump wins a second term? And on a very personal level, I mean, these are torturous discussions with their family members about whether or not they have to leave the country to avoid being unconstitutionally and illegally detained. I mean, people are actually worried about being thrown in jail or grabbed in some sort of extrajudicial detention. And I think, as crazy as this sounds in the United States of America, I think people should really consider that these are possibilities. Listen to what the man says. He typically does what he says, as crazy as it seems. And that's really all the indicators you need.
That's right. And we can't wait. And the biggest takeaway for me is that this is the reason that our FBI can't catch anybody, because of people like him. This moron is in charge of the FBI. And you hear it right there, the way he judges people. I mean, it's ridiculous. And shout out to Wayne and his sister who are watching the show right now. Hang in there, guys. It only gets easier as you go. It'll never go away, but it gets easier as time goes by.
Oh, yeah. Shout out Wayne and his sister. We should have a sister on. Like we've had the cat on. I think it's time for Wayne Dupree's sister. But on that note, back to McCabe. he needs to go to jail. And Caitlin Collins needs to go to jail, because that interview, she should have looked at him and said, hey, you know what? Yesterday it came out the Hunter Biden laptop was real. You're in charge of the FBI. You knew it was real when all these intelligence agents came out and sent the letter, and you might have been involved in that. Maybe you can clarify that. And why don't you tell us that, you know, how come you guys didn't say anything and you let America run around thinking the Hunter Biden laptop was fake and all the stuff on it was Russian disinformation? That would have been a real journalist question.
And another example at CNN of a DEI hire.
Right.
They got rid of a good pundit. I don't even remember his name, and I don't agree with anything he says, but she's a ditz.
Yep.
She stutters, and she's no good. I mean, why would they hire her?
She's an actress. She's cute.
But she's not good at it.
Right. She can read the cue cards, kind of. People tune in for eye candy. Like, you don't want a critical thinker on CNN who can actually, like, ask questions. I mean, they're just an actor. They get handed their script, just like if they were on a sitcom. They read their script and they ask the pre-scripted questions. And McCabe, when he's saying people are leaving the country, let that settle in, folks. These people are so scared, and they aren't leaving the country. They know it won't happen, but there's something there that I don't know if they're seeing Trump's plans for going after the deep state.
They're seeing us. They're seeing us on social media.
Right.
They've got agents that's their job.
Yep.
They know what time it is.
Right. And I mean, American citizens, if you tell me you're going to go lock up corrupt politicians and corrupt bureaucrats,
let's go.
I'm in. Like, don't promise me a good time if you're not going to give it to me.
Tucker Carlson had it right, man. The other night he said that, I don't know if this was a clip from somewhere else, or some other time, but he said that America's a good place, but our ruling class is diseased, man.
Right.
They are terrible on both sides of the aisle, the whole shooting match.
You know, it's funny you say that, because I talk a lot about how it's rich versus poor, and it's not right versus left so much. I mean, there's a lot of right versus left battles, but, you know, countries do well when you're ruling class, whether it's a democratically elected or if it's a monarchy or whatever it is. Historically, you've got to have some of your most impressive people running stuff, companies, business, being in positions of power and politics. We have some of the least impressive people. I mean, Jerry Nadler, if you're starting a business and you're going to open up a business, I mean, let's go down the list. Would you have Jerry Nadler run your branch office? Would you have Maxine Waters? Would you have any of those guys? Like, you wouldn't hire them.
I wouldn't hire Chuck Schumer.
Right.
Or Mitch McConnell or John Thune or John Cornyn or Barrasso or any of them. I wouldn't hire Rand Paul.
Right. Yeah. I mean, what are these guys good at? You know, could any of these guys like fix a broken garage door?
Explain to me why an ophthalmologist goes to Congress. Why would you do that? Why would you train your whole life? But I mean, you can make money in ophthalmology, I think.
Not like senators.
Well, that's why I wouldn't hire them.
Right.
You know, everybody's getting paid. We know that.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I think politicians at some level, you would hope they go in there because they want to do something, help make the nation a better place. But I think they get in there and they see all the money coming in, and it's not their salary. You know, we talk about, oh, they make $100,000 a year. These guys are getting hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars on the back end. They're getting money funneled into their kids' business.
Rand Paul, he'll own a hospital after he's done.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, go serve in the House, in the Senate for 10, 20 years. You know, I mean, look at Nancy Pelosi's wealth and think of that. She can pass a law that's going to affect the stock price and trade on the stock price.
And her husband buys a football team.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it's ridiculous. It is. Let's watch. I don't know what happened here. I mean, people are speculating online. One of the most embarrassing things for me today was trying to get that intro together, having to sift through all those Biden clips. He's representing us in Normandy, man. It's gross.
Please tell me you have the one.
I don't have the short one because it was so short. I didn't grab it where he's bending over, but I do have the evacuation drill. If you want to check out the evacuation drill in front of President Macron, who's doing the right thing, and Biden got to go. I wonder what those old guys are thinking, man. It probably stinks over there too.
I was going to say, for those who haven't seen the longer clip, so Biden's in France at this D-Day celebration commemorating Normandy and whatnot. And the part before that, Joe Biden, he's kind of bending over, and it 100% looks like he poops himself.
Like he was downloading something into his pants.
Yeah, he was downloading something. And they're trying to say, oh, he thought there was a chair behind him, so he was trying to sit. But then as you rewatch that clip Hutch just played, that was like 30 seconds after, and it's like, okay, they're like, okay, we got a code brown here. We, and you wonder if the Secret Service, they have code words for stuff. Like, is it like, hey, we got a code brown here, and then it's like we got to go change Joe's pants, and you watch them shuffling him off, and Jill's trying to, I'll pinch your cheeks, Joe. We don't want to make too big of a mess.
This is foul. This is completely foul.
Right.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's face it. The current geopolitical situation isn't that great. And under this administration, the economy hasn't exactly inspired confidence. As a result, Americans like you are concerned about their retirement savings, and for good reason. But there's good news. Gold has held its value since the dawn of mankind and mentioned in every book of the Bible from Genesis to Revelation. As a faith-driven precious metals company, Genesis Gold Group helps Americans protect their life savings from the threats facing our nation. And here's what I love about them. They don't do gimmicks like the big gold companies and insult your intelligence with absurd claims of $10,000 in free silver or gold. Instead, they actually want customers to be fully aware of all options, not just the ones that benefit the seller, and they educate you all along the way. Get your free definitive gold guide to get started and learn more about investing in gold and protecting your retirement from uncertain times. Visit RVM Gold. Do you have the...
I do have the new one. New link update, treasureandtrust.com.
There you go, treasureandtrust.com. Enjoy, ladies and gentlemen. Right now, in a couple minutes, we have a representative from our friends at the New Federal State of China to give us an update on the trial of Miles Guo and his co-defendants. We might as well bring him on right now.
Let's bring Jackson on.
Let's welcome Jackson to the program. And we'll get the graphics right in just a minute here.
Oh, yeah. Giddy up.
There he is.
All right.
Hi, Jackson. How you doing, sir?
What's going on, guys? Jason, Hutch, it's a pleasure to be on with you guys. I've watched your shows in the past, and I know we had a lot of, other patriots of NFSC on your guys' show, and very honored. Very honored. Thank you so much.
As are we, and we love the studio. The new studio is a development that's just classy with the bay behind you and everything. So,
oh yeah,
tell us a little bit about yourself, Jackson, before we get started.
All right, sounds good. Sounds great. So my name is Jackson, as you guys know, and I've actually started following Mr. Miles Guo. I discovered him back in 2019, and that was just right before the pandemic. Yeah, he was blowing the whistle, and I discovered him on YouTube, and I actually saw a video of him, and the title was, Chinese billionaire waging war against the CCP via YouTube. And anyways, if you guys don't know, he has a dog named Snow, and that really caught my eye. And anyways, so from there, I followed Mr. Miles ever since. And I learned about the 13579 bioweapon plan, as you guys know. And it just really, how do I say, in 2021, when the whole pandemic was at full swing, if you guys remember. And that was the year that I discovered that my mom and dad actually went behind my back and got the vax. It's not just them. 98% of my family gotten it.
You're not alone, sir. You are not alone.
Thank you. Yes. And so, like in 2022 December, actually towards the end, I don't know if you guys remember, but Mr. Miles Guo's dad passed away. When his father passed away, that was the moment that I had the very first interaction with Mr. Miles on Getter. I sent him a message. I said, through thick and thin, Mr. Miles, love you forever. And thank you for everything you're doing. And anyways, I just had a tiny little interaction with him. And he actually, that tiny interaction exploded to, I can't put in words how grateful I am. But with that being said, that was also the moment that I realized that, it dawned on me, right? 2022, that December, it dawned on me after that interaction that that day will come, for me too. Like the day that I'm going to wake up without our loved ones, our moms, our dads, sisters, brothers, aunties, uncles, and cousins, just the people in our lives are not longer being there. And that's when I made a decision. I said, this is the time. If there is ever a moment in history, this is the moment, this is the time for us to come together as patriots of not only the United States of America, as the patriots of the NFSC, the patriots of our Mother Earth, right? Planet Earth. Time for us all, we the people, to come together to do something. And it just so happened that in 2023, just a couple months after Mr. Miles' father passed away, the NFSC, we went to CPAC.
Yep.
And then from there, right after that, we all know the infamous, the March 15th, right, with the raid and everything else, when Mr. Miles Guo being, detained. So from there, that's when I said, okay, all right, what can I do to help? What can I do to help? And that's when I started the show. It's called Voice of Freedom, VOF, when we started doing the show. Ever since then, it's been over a year now, and one thing led to another. Here I am, and I've been invited to come to the court. It's absolutely an honor, to sit in the court. Like, if you guys ever get an opportunity to, man, I would love to meet you guys in person. You guys are so cool, and you guys have to, like, at least once, if possible, witness it in person, because it feels like, at least for myself, it's like a dream come true to me, Mr. Miles, and also to see him in court,
Right.
Because in the past, it was always over the screen, right? You get to, like us right now. I'm meeting you guys for the first time over the screen, but I know one day we'll very soon, possibly, we're gonna get to meet in person. I get to shake your guys' hands like a man and give you guys a hug, and we're gonna, powwow a little bit, and it's absolutely amazing.
Oh, Jackson, thanks for joining the program today. So if you were exposed to Miles Guo initially in that 2019 era, how bizarre is it sitting through this criminal trial, seeing all those videos from that era? Because I think the earliest video I think they talked about was like maybe 2017, 18. You can correct me.
Oh, yeah.
And then a lot of it was like his 2019, 2020 videos. So as you're watching him trying to be criminally prosecuted for those same videos that were so eye-opening for you, does that just feel like the most bizarre thing ever?
I mean, bizarre is definitely a word to use. Because I discovered Mr. Miles Guo in the later half of 2019.
Yep.
So a lot of things that happened prior 2017, 18, everything he's done, from that point, this is a huge, learning experience for me. And I really enjoy all of it. For sure. I think when it comes to being there in person, number one is an educational experience for me. I get to learn everything, the history of what happened. He said, she said, what actually happened, and then having the cross come in to tell the full picture, right? It's like, imagine this, guys, right? Like, have you guys seen the movie Titanic?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so imagine that 2-3 hour long movie, and then somebody clipping out something that's like 22 seconds, 33 seconds, and then say, okay, all right, Jason, all right, Hutch, that's the movie. It's like, well, you won't be able to get the full picture. So, but for sure, I think it's at the end of the day, something Mr. Miles Guo and the NFSC we talk about is the truth is always going to be the truth. And we believe in the justice system, despite what everybody and anybody else says. America, USA, this is the last line of defense. I can't wait. In my personal opinion, the best is yet to come.
I hope so. I certainly do. And please correct me if any of my assumptions are wrong here. But my understanding of this is that Miles, the criminal side of it, Miles has G fashion and all the G lines. And I understand from Feather that it's a RICO case. So to me, that means that they have to tie all of those G lines together and name it a criminal organization like the Gambino crime family or something. How does it feel inside the courtroom? Does it feel, first of all, am I accurate? And how does it feel inside there? Can you get a feeling of the judge's attitude or of the jurors' expressions, or give us an inside baseball?
Awesome. Yeah. I'll pitch one to you guys. So, I mean, your first question, it is accurate as to what they're trying to do. If you guys go over the opening statement, very interesting. The opening statement from the direct and then from our team, Ms. Sabrina Shroff, it's very interesting how they are going the financial, the fraud side of the strategy versus actually the full picture, right, as to why is all this being done. And so with that being said, in terms of the energy inside of the core, it is on fire. You know, there's a huge line outside in the morning every day. People line up to get in, and I think, you know, the judge is very fair in terms of how she has been handling a lot of the back and forth with both teams. Thus far, it's been great. I mean, let me think. I mean, we've up to 10 witnesses now. Everybody's very respectful, you know, in the court, going up through the security in the morning, saying hi to everybody, the cafeteria, right, and everything. So I think everybody's very respectful in the courtroom. I think so far so good. Everything's great. The energy is high. Everybody's very attentive. I don't see anybody dozing off yet. I mean, the other day we just had 2 of Mr. Miles Gore's songs play in the courtroom. That definitely, you know, got the ball rolling, right? So yeah, so far so good.
You know, when you talk about energy and kind of the feeling of it, as I'm reading the transcripts and reading recaps from NFSC, which follow on their Twitter page, nfscspeaks.com, it's phenomenal. But what's really interesting is how corrupt the Department of Justice comes off. And I have to think that's playing to a jury, because it looks like the questioning from the prosecution, then the defense prosecution, like you said, takes a 10-minute clip, plays 35 seconds, and then says, see, he's a criminal. And then the defense just comes up and it's nothing more than, well, let's play 2 minutes of the clip, and we can play the whole clip if you want. And it just completely destroys their narrative. And in America, we believe, we talked about it earlier with President Trump, where you hope that you don't have corrupt prosecution that's going to try to spin things like this. But am I catching the vibe of that right? That it's just coming across really disingenuous from the prosecution?
From the prosecution, for sure. Like, for example, I can give you guys an example. I just came back from the courthouse. Is that after witness number 9, Jenny Lee, that was, in my own words, you know, a bit of a disaster for everybody. There was a lot of translation problems, but anywho, this new witness that came on, number 10, her real name is Yali, Y-A-L-I, and her internet name, what she's known for is Mulan, M-U-L-A-N. And so yesterday, before she came on, the 10th witness, while we're still crossing the 9th witness, because there's a lot of questions to go through, right? The day before, essentially invested the whole day to go over 200 pages of videos, articles, and everything else. So it takes a lot, I think, to come back, to ask the questions, to make sure we actually help paint the full picture, so there is a fair a call. And so with that being said, yesterday in court, the prosecutors actually requested and asked the judge to see if we can speed things up, because guess what? We have witnesses that's coming from another country, and they said that they need some extra time, like with this witness number 10. So that's the reason why the court judge actually, at the end of yesterday's trial, actually asked everybody, the jurors, all the legal teams and everybody, to say, oh, can we actually, change the schedule a little bit, right? Bake in an extra 45 and an hour in a day, because we've got to get through a lot of material, because that was from the request of the prosecutors. And what's interesting is today, going to the court today, the prosecutor said, oh, you know what, we actually, because yesterday they actually said for witness number 10, which is the lady that's here today, Yali or Mulan, they said that we may take up a whole day to cross her, which is today. But then today in court, they said that, oh, Your Honor, we actually may, I'm not in the exact words, I'm painting a picture for you guys. They request that, say, we actually might have a new witness coming tomorrow. It's like, okay, we haven't even gone through the cross yet. You guys even haven't finished the direct yet. And you guys haven't even started the direct yet with witness number 10. And you're telling us yesterday, complaining about how we need to move things up quickly a little bit. And today you're saying, hey, we got a new witness coming in and, from different places, and everybody's schedule is a little tough. Because the reason why that conversation came up is because the prosecutors, they actually had a video because as you know, Mr. Miles Guo, his live streams are in Chinese, and there are other videos that are in other languages. So they actually didn't. They have like some of the clips that weren't translated, from the prosecutors team, and that conversation came up, and they said, "Oh, you know what? Can we just maybe use Google Translate to just get this done?" And then because we've got another witness coming up tomorrow, so to help you guys paint a picture, there's definitely a little bit of tug of war going on, a little bit of strategy. I definitely see it, and and I'm enjoying it. Yeah.
But the most important part, you say that the judge is being fair with both sides. It's not like Merchan where one side is sustained and the other one's good to go. So paint a picture here a little bit of the human side of this. Like, I'm wondering, you were talking about cafeteria. I know Miles was locked up for a year, however long, pretty long. And all of a sudden now he's in court in civilian clothes. Does he get a little breather when he's out there, and does he get to eat in the cafeteria and things like that? The other question I would have is the jury sequestered, and not to add a whole lot of things here, but I wonder that courthouse, where's that? That's not in Manhattan, right? That's in another borough.
No, it is in Manhattan.
So that's the jury pool is Manhattan then.
Yeah. It's actually the address is 500 Pearl Street. A beautiful name, and it's in Manhattan.
So does he get a little bit of leeway when he's in court? Does he have to go back to the jail to eat or what?
So that I actually don't know. Mr. Miles will come from a different room. I mean, Mr. Miles will, number one, it's great to see him in person, dressed up, suited up, and everything else. And I mean, I never had an opportunity to actually visit him, while he was detained at MDC. But I can only imagine the condition that he had to live through all these different months leading up to this point. And finally, we're here today. It's incredible. And I mean, Mr. Miles Guo in person, he carries this, this suave, this energy about him when, every day he's pretty much like, I don't want to say he's the first person there, but he's always on time, never late, coming in, suited up. He has a little bit of a swag, and it's unbelievable. And in terms of getting a breather, I'm pretty sure, personal opinion, that he's very glad he's able to suit up again. Number one. Number two is to be able to just move his legs a little bit, right? Outside of where he's staying at the MDC, move his legs a little bit, see some familiar faces. And in terms of food, that I don't know. Everybody, there is different procedures with the jurors. They have to leave first before anybody can leave, the witness, Mr. Miles. So it's definitely very orderly so far.
Are they sequestered?
What does the sequester mean?
The jury, are they allowed to go home after the court, or do they have to stay in a hotel?
That I don't know. That I'm not too sure. I believe they do get to. That I can't speak on because I don't know.
I just wonder because all this stuff going on about the corruption in the Trump trial. If they're hearing that, that's got to be a good thing. Anyway, Jason.
Yeah, I was going to say, Jackson, were you there for jury selection? Because that was one thing I haven't been able to find much out, in any of the transcripts. But how was the process? Did it feel like you got a fair jury? Was it a pretty diverse jury pool? I mean, the Trump one, it was like 90% of them were Biden voters, and the other two wouldn't say. So how's Miles' jury looking?
So when it came to the jury selection, I wasn't there. It was the first 2 days of trial. Day one of trial was 5/22, February 22nd. I didn't get there until the second week. So I can't speak on it from, a personal perspective. But according to, some of my colleagues, it was a very orderly process. And we do believe that so far so good. I mean, I can't speak on from a personal experience. I wish I was there, man. Right. I wish I was there.
I'll tell you, I gotta give a message to the NFSC, and you're the man on point, so I'll give it to you.
Okay.
When we first started interacting with the NFSC over a year ago with Nicole and some other people, Roy, I was a little bit apprehensive, understanding how a lot of times Americans are like this.
Yeah.
They're very focused on what's right in front of them, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Not everybody, but a lot of them. And I thought, I saw the influence on Getter that Miles had, and the Mandarin Chinese characters and everything. And I was a little bit leery that it was going to catch on, but I got to give you guys credit. A term that was never used in the United States before, the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, the ability to separate that from the Chinese people is something that you guys should be very proud of, because now
Thank you.
that's even in the lexicon, in the vernacular in Congress.
Yes.
So that's a major leap. And I just wanted to say that before I forgot about it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I mean, it does take a lot. If you guys can imagine that the CCP has spent over $4 billion to just stop the birth of June 4th, 2020. I mean, that's an astronomical amount for us, the average common folk. But at the end of the day, I truly believe that the best days are right around the corner, for all of us. And on 2024, because I was very fortunate to go to America Fest back in December in Arizona, and I got to meet some patriots, of the United States, the red, white, and blue. There's a reason why I'll say this about communism, okay? Communism the ISM-ism is an ideology, yeah? And their main weapon is divide and conquer, okay?
Yep.
Divide and conquer, right? The men against the women, the gender against the genders, they just divide anybody and everybody that they can. But at the end of the day, there's a reason, it's called the United States of America, and not the divided states of America. And to everybody that has a second thought, it is, I mean, I don't want to say too much, but it's very important that the ideology of communism has to be eradicated, absolutely done. And I think it's that verbiage, like you say, is out in the ethers now, and nobody can go back to say, oh, I mean, especially like, how do you distinguish, right, the people away from the Chinese Communist Party, the CCP, when, I mean, what more reasons do we, the people, need, right? The enemy wants to divide us, but I'll say this, is that we, the people, we're more united more than ever. All the patriots, okay, that's a super powerful word that's been in my vocabulary that I've now equipped myself with, where it's like there's so many people that can call themselves they can be a passport holder, right? Or they can call themselves a citizen of this country or whatnots, but the patriots is truly, it's truly amazing. And I do want to say that, we're more united more than ever. We the people, despite all the differences, Hutch, Jason, you guys might like barbecue from Texas. You guys, I might like my barbecue from Tennessee. But at the end of the day, we love our barbecue. We love our,
We're all
love our
American.
protein. And at the end of the day, we love this country. This country is worth fighting for. Freedom is worth fighting for. This planet Earth is worth fighting for. And the common denominator of all the chaos around our planet today is definitely 100% the Chinese Communist Party. If you go back and take a look at everything they've been up to, do we need any other reasons outside of the 13579 bioweapon plan? Correct? Like, how we have to hold these people accountable as to this bioweapon plan that's been released on planet Earth, right? And the number 7 inside of the 13579 bioweapon plan are the targets.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'll go over them really quick. It's the Five Eyed Nation, the United States of America, right? The United States of America, the United Kingdom, Canada, New Zealand, Australia, India, and Japan. Okay, and if you guys go back and look, I don't know if you guys have you guys followed the New Zealand back in December of 2023? A whistleblower came out by the name of Barry Young.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And, so we, the people, know there is a financial system that was built to track and record all of the vax, right?
Yep.
So these providers can get paid, right? At the end of the day. And we know because of Mr. Miles Gore from 2017, when he blew the whistle, he had, the 13579 bioweapon plan to the FBI, that this indeed came from the CCP. And this is crime against humanity at the highest level.
Right.
At the highest level. And I mean, like, what other reasons do we need, right? The God has given us, like, this blessing of a life, being able, from our grandparents that gave birth to our parents, that gave birth to us. And, you know, to have it all, I mean, without getting too emotional talking about all this stuff, but I think it's one of those things for sure. You know, me personally, I don't want to be 40, 50, 60, 70-year-old later on in life looking back, like knowing what I know today. I mean, and looking myself in the mirror and say, and because the regret, right? Because we really know, like, oh, look at this house that we have. Look at the toys, you know, the cars. And I'm gonna take pride in my family, but I just don't want to have the regret of knowing what I know today and I didn't do anything about it. The people that gave me life, my mom and dad, are no longer here, and everybody else, like with everybody's family that is watching, joining us on the show. Like, I mean, guys, do you guys know anybody? I mean, how many people do we know that has been negatively influenced and affected by just that 13579 bioweapon plan alone, right? The virus, the pandemic, plus the vax, it's...
Anybody that was under 18, we're not going to know for years.
Right.
Oh my gosh. That's what they want to do, go after the next generation, right? Because I have a really good buddy of mine. Maybe I you know, I mean, off air, I'll tell you guys about him a little bit more, like, you know, his real name and stuff, but he's on SEAL Team 7.
Oh, wow.
He's a sniper on SEAL Team 7. And he, well, after the 9/11 happened, that team was put together and he went to war for the country. And he used to tell me all these war stories. You know, he used to tell me all these war stories. And it just really resonated with me when he said that he's willing to put his life on the line to fight for freedom for this country. And if you take a look, like with all of us, with what we're doing, not just the NFSC, with you guys too, putting all of our lives and our livelihoods, our families' livelihoods on the line to come together, you know, right. to work on a way bigger cause, because it's not about us anymore. It's about the children, the next generation. And we are the adults in the room now that has to and take care of business so they can have a life, you know.
Well, Jackson, I got to say, you and the NFSC's courage in speaking out against the Chinese Communist Party is really an inspiration for myself, our audience. Like, you guys are doing God's work, getting the word out. And if we don't save America, there's nowhere else to go. So that's why we gotta save it here. Wayne is going to be super excited to have you on. And so make sure you come back so he can ask you some questions too. Before we get you out of here, give us a quick update what we can expect in the Miles trial between now and next week. And then where can people follow you, your work, the NFSC's work?
Thank you guys so much. Thank you guys so much. I can't wait to meet, you know, Wayne as well. So in terms of Mr. Miles' trial, we are currently on witness number 10. And we're digging into a lot of the financials and the whatnots. So I'm pretty sure, you know, we'll be seeing a lot of each other over the next however many weeks, however many days, we'll see. And so we'll definitely keep you guys updated on everything. Today is Thursday, and tomorrow, I believe, is when because I'm going to, right after we're done here, I'm going to actually head back to the courts and finish the trial and just try to be as on top of it as possible. And with that being said, I'm not too. We are still in direct. We literally started direct with this witness, and we're still going to go through it. Yesterday was maybe like less than 1/3, according to the prosecutor. So we're probably going to go through the rest of the day direct today. Tomorrow cross, and I'm pretty sure tomorrow there're going to be a lot of fireworks and a lot of things to share with you guys. And I wanted to say also this is that thank you guys for having us on. Absolutely, for everybody that's joining us on the show right now, go and follow Mr. Jason, Mr. Hutch. Go and follow Mr. Wayne. Go follow the Wayne Dupree podcast everywhere. And with that being said, for the latest updates on the NFSC Mr. Miles Guo's trial, please go to our official NFSC Speaks account on X, formerly Twitter. You can also find us on Getter, gettr.com, and just look us up. NFSC Speaks, we're there everywhere. And we'll keep you updated every single day to the best of our abilities. And with that being said, I do want to kick things off, wrap things up by saying that unity is our superpower, and this is just the beginning.
All right, Jackson, thank you very much. Nice meeting you, and Wayne's looking forward to talking to you. Thanks for coming.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'll tell you, I'm going to play something now that I was playing for the content that they're talking show that Donald Trump his election was stolen.
Right.
Their textbooks say that. I've seen them.
Yeah, actually, that's made the round around the internet several times where they're like, the election was stolen. And I even read an article that broke it down. I don't know if it's true, but they talk about just the statistical anomalies of the Joe Biden win. And I use the Barry Bonds example. You watch a guy hit 70 home runs and you're like, yeah, something's weird. I don't know exactly what, but something's weird. And they cover that. But no, they don't want, they don't want gay marriage. They don't want the tranny stuff. They just want to raise good Russian. Whatever they've gone through in Russia, way back, they've overthrown governments, they've done things, but their love of country and their national pride has never wavered. No. And if you start attacking them, this is going to go poorly.
It's not going to, all you have to do is look in history. There's historical context for all this. And I'll tell you, I spent over 30 years in the United States military. And I would have never believed I was going to say what I'm getting ready to say. I'm about ready to be an anti-war protester.
Yep.
I'm dead serious. And I would have never said that. Thanks to Donald Trump for allowing me to see what evil demons we have in our government.
Yep. I have been an anti-war guy my whole life because I grew up after Vietnam, and I looked at Vietnam as a turning point in wars where wars became business. And they round up patriotic, poor white folks like me and you, and they send us to some nation to die for some cause that's crap because they want to get rich. And this cycle has continued perpetuating and perpetuating and perpetuating. And this just in right now, today in the world, how many wars are going on? 20, 30?
Many.
Yeah.
I'll tell you the thing that's striking about all that. Think about what I'm going to say here. World War II was the last war we won.
Yep.
We lost everything else after that. And these idiot generals that are wearing 4 stars right now presided over that.
Well, and I'll say this, since World War II, what war should we have been in? Vietnam.
Possibly Korea, when we were figuring out the communism. And then we should have stopped right then and said, whoops, my bad.
Yep.
And the reason I say that is because I served in Korea, and you can see the difference between South Korea and North Korea. It's like night and day.
Oh, right.
South Korea was rocking, boy, even in the 80s.
Yep.
But strong work ethic. I haven't been there for a long time, but after that, it wasn't just the fact, like Korean Wars never ended.
Right.
There's still an armistice at the 38th parallel.
Right.
It's the politicians. They never finished. The Bushes, both Bushes. What failures? What failure? They let Iraq live to see another day. It's like Herbert Walker should have killed that. If we're going to do it, we should do it. But I think we ought to declare war. I don't think there should be any more police actions. It can go back to what it's called, the Department of Defense.
But you look at Afghanistan. Pick any spot we've been involved in the Middle East. We have screwed it up worse than it started. And you just go down the list. People are getting rich. As soon as we got out of Afghanistan, you knew they were going to spin stuff up. Now you got Russia, Ukraine. But there's wars going on all over the world.
Israel, Hezbollah, Africa, 7 or 8 countries in Africa.
Yeah, we can't get involved in all of these. And at some point, we have to let other nations take care of their own stuff. Like, you guys settle it, figure out what the deal is. And
it's not going to be, there's not going to be a question. We can't afford it.
Right.
There's just no gold to pay for it.
Right.
Let's take a trip down memory lane and hope we can quash this in the crib before it grows.
That we're not testing to really see how many people have been exposed and got asymptomatically infected. We should be testing every cow weekly. You can do pooled PCR. We have the technology. The great thing about America is we're incredibly innovative, and we have the ability to have these breakthroughs. We could be pool testing every dairy worker. I do believe that there's undetected cases in humans because we're once again only tracking people with symptoms. When we did that with COVID, the virus spread throughout the Northeast undetected because it took a long time to get to the vulnerable individuals. But in the meantime, thousands, hundreds of thousands of people were infected with asymptomatic or mild disease and never came to medical attention. We have to switch from symptoms to actually definitive laboratory testing. We have the capacity.
We need to switch to you need to go to prison. I hear that and it makes my blood boil. You know, nobody says what her position is now. She's the CEO of a big pharmaceutical company that probably develops and sells those tests she's talking about.
Yep. The fact that she is walking around as a free woman, I mean, it's come out that they just made stuff up. They lied to President Trump. When she got out of government service and goes and takes a super high paying job in a pharmaceutical company, she belongs in jail. And just to give everybody the update. So the bird flu is looking like it's going to be the new disease X, the new flu. It spread to livestock. I suspect, and put this on the prediction board, that they're going to use it to do a mass kill off of cows because the left hates cows. They hate the fact that you're going to eat beef. So I think they're going to say, oh, we need to kill a bunch of cows. Beef prices are going to go up. You got to eat crickets. And then they're citing this case in Mexico now where this guy died. And I went and did some digging, which it isn't really easy to do to get information out of Mexico. But it sounds like this guy that died was in the hospital for like 3 or 4 weeks with other issues than the bird flu. Then after he died, they test him and it turns out he's got the bird flu and these other symptoms that have kept him in for 3 weeks. They don't report that that's how he died, but that's how they started with a lot of the COVID stuff. And the Uniparty is going to stop at nothing. I mean, if you see these crescendos with war, with a new disease, everything's lining
You've got
up.
the World Health Organization, a communist named Tedros, that was installed by the CCP, saying that we have to get much more aggressive with anti-vaxxers.
Right.
And Biden wants to sign a treaty with these people.
Right. And I mean, we call people anti-vaxxers. It's such a stupid name. You don't want gene manipulation. If you want to take one of the old school vaccines where they actually injected the polio virus in you so your body could learn to fight it, we can have that discussion. But that is a separate discussion than what this is. They are saying they want
This is war.
Right. Yeah, this is war. They want to genetically manipulate you. That's just not cool.
I mean, they're showing you the fertility rate in our young has plummeted.
Right.
You think that's an accident?
Right.
You think any of this is an accident?
Well, and imagine being the poor kids nowadays, on top of all the societal things. We keep telling generation after generation the world's going to end because of global warming. For 50 years, we've said that, and these kids are growing up. Now we've screwed up their economy. We've given them these vaxes.
That's the apprehension part. I didn't take anything myself, and I never will.
Right.
Right. But my wife had to take it because she wanted to stay working.
Correct.
And I offered her, hey, you can retire right now. You don't have to take that. And she went off and she got it. She loves her job. My son is a professional firefighter. He had to take one.
He had to get it.
My stepson, who's graduating college this weekend, got a shot and multiple boosters to be able to stay in school. So now the rest of my life, I'm walking on eggshells. What's going to happen to this kid?
Right.
It's hard to do. I mean, it's something. This is an evil crime that has to be punished.
Right.
I mean, if we don't do anything else, if we don't punish these people, and soon, they're going to do it again.
Right.
And maybe it'll be a real disease next time.
Well, and I mean, the fact is that we are due for a really destructive flu. We are due, if you look, like the Spanish flu was a thing, killed millions of people. Actually, before COVID, I was always surprised at how few people knew. Like, I didn't learn much about it, but as I started looking into it, I'm like, wow, how am I not hearing about this? Or
the U.S. Army spread that.
Right. Oh, yeah. It just came out of the trenches in the wars. Basically, you get all
us being overseas and traveling all over. And
Yeah, and you
There you
put
go.
human people in unsanitary conditions and really close conditions, and things turn out poorly. But so we're due, and so there is reason to be concerned. You can't dismiss everything, but when you see these power brokers come out, it's like when the media comes out and says something, I just default to, you're just lying. Like, what's the real story? What really happened? Because this clearly didn't happen. So let's try to figure out what that is. And that's what's really sad, is that our institutions in America, we've completely.
I got some breaking news here, Jason.
I saw that.
Steve Bannon is ordered to prison as judge revokes bail. U.S. District Court Judge Carl Nichols, an appointee of Donald Trump, has reportedly ordered Steve Bannon to surrender to prison on July 1st. Wow. Okay. I mean, that's we're going off the deep end. I mean, this is quickly becoming not America anymore.
Here's what's remarkable. I remember one of the podcasts I listened to is Scott Adams. He's the Dilbert guy. I enjoy his podcast. And after the last election, he said Republicans are going to be hunted. And I remember everybody roasted him online. And I'm like, oh, I don't think he's wrong. They're already being hunted. Like, you see conservative businesses, you see all these things being hunted, and they are jailing their political opponents. I mean,
it's almost illegal to be on the right.
Right. Well, and actually, kind of personal, funny story on that side. So Carl, shout out to Carl from Canada. I lost a bet. I paid up. I was made a donation to a art gallery in Vancouver that works with kind of special needs kids. I thought that was a great charity Carl picked. I was happy. I lost the bet. I was happy to pay it off. So I do a transfer to them through PayPal, and it has my company name on the account, and my company name's Freedom from the Press, and they rejected it. They said the Canadian government wouldn't let them take a donation from that type of organization. And I'm like, are you kidding me? So he actually had to send it back to me, and then I had to have somebody else send it that didn't have that as their signature line. And, it's no shock. If you I have friends that run conservative businesses. Hey, congratulations, you're getting another audit. Hey, congratulations, the IRS is asking about things. One of my business partners who just did his taxes just got rejected by the IRS. And it's like, are you kidding me? Like, if they got the list out there, and if you end up on it, congratulations, folks.
Well, you're right. That's why I don't answer any surveys or anything with any of these platforms. I'm just, if you're going to get me, you got to get me on your own.
Right.
I'm not giving you anything. But I look into the past. Nothing beats a little bit of old school trash talk. This was back in the day when men were men.
Get away from me, you crumb. That's a challenge, except I'll put my dog away and I'll come back. And you got 1, 2, 3. And I'll do it along with you. In that back of that fence. Just the 3 of us, 4 of us, me and you. Show you what kind of a man you are. You're less than a man. Okay? You're a crumb creep. And I wouldn't take that off of nobody. And there's 3 of you and I'm by myself. And when it's over, there'll be nothing to it. Win or lose, okay? But you don't have the courage. You're a real crumb bum. Put that on camera. You're a crumb bum, the 3 of you. And I challenge you. You're a coward. You're a yellow sneak. And if you want to, now what I say, let's forget all the rules of this great country we live in. I will go back to that wall with the 3 of you. Just me.
Mayor Rizzo,
you're a crumb creep coward.
All right, so what city's that? I'm going to say Chicago. I don't know where it is, but that's what I'm going to say.
Yeah, it sounds like Chicago. And it's funny because what didn't Mike Tyson have a quote like that? Like, the world's getting too stupid because there's too many people afraid to not get that they aren't going to get punched in the mouth.
Right.
And it's funny, all these people saying stuff, doing stuff. There used to be consequences for your actions.
Indeed.
I mean, wouldn't you like to see like President Trump just next time he has one of these liars like Jake Tapper up there, or like in the debate, just walk up and just like Will Smith bitch slap him? Like, let's go.
I'll tell you, I don't know how this guy keeps up, but Tucker Carlson, man, lately he's just like volley after volley after volley after volley, saying the unspeakable.
Right.
I mean, I remember there was a time, like when you're listening to that Biden clip, there was a time where you wouldn't even say that stuff.
Yep.
I mean, literally, like you wouldn't say it. Politicians were very careful in what they said because of that. Now it's just like the idiots are running the show.
Yep.
And Tucker Carlson, he's talking about it. And it, you know, whether you like the guy or not, it takes a lot of courage to do this. I mean, he knows, people know where he is. You know, check him out about the CIA.
Committed a crime. He's threatening me. It was in my car. With my dog sitting next to me, I'll never forget this. And I said, are you really saying that to reveal that the U.S. government had a role in the murder of a democratically elected president, to say that out loud, that's the crime? What about the actual crime, which is murdering a president? Like, you're covering up for that, Mike Pompeo.
What did he say to that?
He had no response at all. And so Mike Pompeo is the one who pressed Trump to keep those documents secret. And so it's like, what's crazy to me is not just that Pompeo did that. I think Pompeo is a really sinister person and a criminal. I think that because the facts suggest that. He was caught. Yahoo News, Mike Isikoff wrote a long piece on this several years ago. His employees went to Mike Isikoff and said, hey, Mike Pompeo is plotting to murder Julian Assange, who's never even been charged with a crime in the United States, as CIA director. That's illegal. You're not allowed. Federal employees are not allowed to just kill people they don't like, okay? Just to set the baseline here. So that's who Mike Pompeo is. But he somehow intimidated Trump into not releasing this. Well, okay, that's all bad, right? I think it's criminal behavior.
Go ahead, you do it.
All right, we got too many buttons clicking. Giddy up.
Yeah, I mean, but I knew there was something shaky about Pompeo. And I think that any association at all with the CIA ought to make it to where you can't serve in public office.
Yep. I got to say, one of the hopes of my life is when President Trump was saying he's going to release the Epstein files, the JFK files, pardon Julian Assange, that sort of thing. If you want to, and I'm sure what they did is they just came out and said, hey, listen, we've been killing and controlling presidents and politicians since we shot JFK. And if you let all that stuff out, the world is going to blow up. And I'm sure some version of that, some softer version of that was the pitch to Trump from Pompeo. Like, if the American people realize that we had a hand in, I mean, how many governments have we overthrown? Are we up to like 30? Right. You know, and it's like people kind of know it, but people don't really know it. I mean, we overthrew Ukraine. Congratulations. There's Zelensky.
You look at all these things that the CIA's done, you know, the LSD experiments and the Tuskegee Airmen before it was actually called the CIA. But they've been the ticks, you know, the Lyme disease.
Lyme disease. Yeah. People don't know that's a government thing.
Right. You know? It's
funny. I was talking to a guy from England. Shout out to Ben Q. And he's like, you know what really blows me away is that every like 15, 20 years, your government comes out and says, okay, we totally lied about that thing. And it dramatically changed the world, or we did horrible things to the citizens. And you don't, and then you just keep going with the same government. You look back and go, it was 20 years ago. What are you going to do now? And it's like 20 years from now, here's another revelation about some nonsense that happened 20 years ago.
Look how many times they blame things on national security.
Right.
It's like, you got to be kidding me. I'm not buying that anymore. I used to. I'm not buying it anymore.
But here's the thing. I mean, what happens if regular Americans realize all of the government agencies, the three-letter agencies, plus the IRS, all DOJ, everybody knew Hunter's laptop was real. Everybody knew they were lying about it, and they went along with it. And just that alone was enough to swing the election. At some point, if people fully comprehended that our intelligence community essentially picked the president, there'd be riots in the streets.
Maybe.
Right. I mean, you'd hope.
I know you'd hope, but I don't know sometimes. I mean, you look at the people that just sit back and watch Dancing with the Stars through all this.
Right.
It's the complacency is It's dangerous.
Well, and as you talk about the news getting out and Tucker and some of these things, I think a lot of people in the country are more informed, and it's easier to disseminate information. And I think you got to give a huge shout out to companies like Elon with Twitter, like Chris and his team with Rumble. We're working with RVM News. There is a thirst in America for countries or for news and real information and not being paid off by all these agencies. And even for any criticism I have of Elon, if Twitter didn't exist, we wouldn't be able to do that. And the same with Rumble. Rumble's pushing the envelope what you can say on YouTube now.
And I feel like I have to say something here, and this is my opinion. I think that right now, with this movement and the momentum that we have and that we're generating right now, I think we're in a situation where the enemy is perfection. Okay, what I mean when I say that is we are in the political world. In other words, in the professionally political world, the actual lawmakers, right? We are in the minority as conservatives, as MAGA people. And we're getting better, but we're still in the minority. And I think that a lot of times we've been beaten up so badly by these Republicans, and I'm guilty as anybody else of doing this, of sharpshooting these people all the time. I think we need to do a better job. I'd like to know your opinion on this. I think we need to do a better job in kicking people to the curb right away. I think that there'll be time for that in the future. But I think right now, this is a battle of numbers. And if somebody is on our side and waving our flag and working with our issues, what they did 2 years ago, we'll deal with that next year. But we got to get over this wall right here. And then after we get over the wall, if we can, then we can clean that stuff up and get down in the details. But we don't have the numbers, in my opinion, right now to do that and still win.
I think you're exactly right. I mentioned Scott Adams before. I think he's good for the conservative movement. I agree with probably 60% of what he says, and I find him entertaining. I have no problem saying I listen to that. I ripped on Dave Rubin, who the gay guy conservative who blocked me, which is just comical. But you know what? I'm not going to come out bad mouthing his show because what he's doing is good for the movement. My dad was a Marine, and one of the life lessons he taught me is you don't go to battle with the troops you want, you go to battle with the troops you have. And the quicker you can mentally get your brain to, this is what we got, how are we going to move this ball forward, the more you're going to be successful. And he always told me it was something he picked up in the Marines, and I didn't serve, so I can't confirm that. But that's how I've always been with my life. That's why you don't hear me complaining like, oh, they're suppressing my voice. I just look like, how do I get my voice out? Okay, that doesn't work. Let me try this. And when I look at other people in our space, you know, MTG, she gets it right 30% of the time. You know, I'm going to love her for that 30% and hope she doesn't destroy us the other 70%. And I think you're right. I think as influencers, it's like people got to realize, I mean, like we always say, it's most important election ever, but they're jailing Steve Bannon in 3 weeks. Peter Navarro's sitting in jail. Donald Trump got 30.
Over 70 years old.
Yeah, 70 years old. There's still over 1,000 January 6ers in prison. They're locking up people for protesting abortions. They're shutting down businesses. I mean, Laura Loomer's back thanks to Twitter. Laura Loomer got completely, she couldn't rent an Uber. Like, that's how bad they went after her. If we don't make significant changes in this country, it's going to look different.
You're right. All right, so it's time for final thoughts. It looks like I saw at the beginning of the show, one of the Chirons or the lower third said that we'll all be back together on Wednesday. So it looks like we're going to be here Monday and Tuesday as well, unless I read that wrong.
Yeah, I was going to say, so funny story. We hadn't heard much from Wayne. We've been giving him some space. And my wife texts me and she goes, Wayne's out till Wednesday? Because she's watching the podcast. Shout out to Jen. I love you. And I'm like, hey, maybe that's a thing. I don't know. You guys will find out.
One way or another. Final thoughts.
Final thoughts. So on the news front, Joe Biden, we need to make sure Joe Biden is a Democrat nominee quit saying they need to replace him because we need to run against Joe Biden policies. On a personal note, my wife and I, we started playing Pokemon Go again. We had given it up for several years. If you're looking for a fun game that gets you outside, play Pokemon Go. Thank me later.
Okay, if you say so. Ladies and gentlemen, this is our Friday, your Thursday. So you won't see us tomorrow, but we will be back on Monday.
We'll be back.
I hope you enjoyed our foibles. We didn't polish the front or sand down the edges, but I think we got her done. Anyway, I'm Hutch Bailey Jr. for Jason Robinson and Wayne Dupree. We'll see you next time. Thank you.